Hello. I found something today I wanted to read. This was on somebody else's live, and I was like, wow. I mean, it pretty much says it all. And she just had the one verse up there, but I was like, I couldn't believe this because I don't remember reading this when I was reading the Old Testament. So I thought I was going to read that before I started the other. Have y'all read this chapter recently? Second Chronicles 15. I'm going to start with this because this she had one verse pulled up on her live, and I did a double take. I was like, what did that just say? It's like, but I'm going to read it real quick. And the Spirit of God came upon Azariah, the son of Oded, and he went out to meet Asa, and said unto him, Hear me, Asa, and all Judah and Benjamin, the Lord is with you. While ye be with you, and if ye seek him, he will be found of you, and if you forsake him, he will forsake you. Now, for a long season, Israel has been without a true God, and without a teaching priest, and without a law. But when they in their trouble did turn unto the Lord God of Israel, and sought him, he was found by them. And in those times there was no peace to him that went out, or to him that came in, and great vexation were upon all the inhabitants of the countries. And nation was destroyed of nation, and city of city, for God did vex them with all adversity. Be ye strong therefore, and let not your hands be weak, for your work shall be rewarded. And when Asa heard these words, and the prophecy of Oded, and the prophet, he took courage and put away the abominable idols out of the land of Judah and Benjamin, and out of the cities which he had taken them from Mount Ephraim, and renewed the altar of the Lord that was before the porch of the Lord. And he gathered all Judah and Benjamin and the strangers with them out of Ephraim and Manasseh and out of Simeon, for they fell to them out of Israel in abundance, and they saw that the Lord his God was with him. So they gathered themselves together at Jerusalem in the 3rd month, in the 15th year of the reign of Asa, and they offered unto the Lord at the same time of the spoil which they had brought 700 oxen and 7,000 sheep. And they entered into a covenant to seek the Lord God of their fathers with all their heart and with all their soul, that whosoever would not seek the Lord their God of Israel should be put to unalivement, whether small or great, or whether man or woman. Have y'all ever read that part? What he's saying is anybody that does not seek Yahweh Elohim of Israel should be put to unalivement. I had missed that somehow. And they swore unto the Lord with a loud voice, and shouting, and trumpets, and cornet oath, for they had sworn with all their heart, and sought him with their whole desire, and he was found of them, and the Lord gave them rest round about. I'm not going to read the rest of it. I wanted to read enough of the context so people could understand what was being said. They swore an oath. It's like, and whosoever is not going to seek their Lord God of Israel would be put to unalignment. Then I saw something else today too. Y'all know how I am. Sometimes I get off into the Targums, because that was the common man's Torah for the everyday person in Israel. So I read these verses in the regular, and then I read them in the Targum. And I'm going to read both because it's really interesting how they're very similar, but they left a little bit of it out. It's Genesis 3:17 through 19. I know this is veering off a little bit, but I just want people to see the harshness that you see once you understand what's happening, that we've really been betrayed. And I think the whole deception in Revelation, that he deceives the whole world, was to send everybody to Yahweh. In Genesis 3:17 through 19, and he said to the man, Because you have listened to the voice of your wife, and have eaten of the tree which I commanded you, saying, You shall not eat, the ground shall be cursed because of you. You shall eat it in sorrow all the days of your life. and it shall bring forth thorns and thistles for you, and you shall eat the plant of the field. By the sweat of your face you shall eat bread until you return to the ground, for you have been taken out of it, and you are dust, and to dust you shall return. There's no hope in that. Just throw you to the thorns, and you're not going to have anything to eat, and you're going to sweat. But it's even worse when you read it in the Targum. He said, but to Adam, he said, because thou hast hearkened to the word of thy wife, and hast eaten the fruit of the tree, of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Accursed is the ground in that it did not show thee thy guilt, and labor thou shalt eat of it all the days of your life, and thorns and thistles will it put forth, and increase the amount of thee, and thou shalt eat the herb which is on the face of the field. And Adam answered, I pray through mercies from before thee, O Yahweh, that we may not be accounted as the cattle, to eat the herb of the face of the field. Let us stand up and labor, and the labor of our hands, and eat food, and the food of the earth. And thus let us be a distinction before thee, between the children of the men and the offspring of the cattle. By the labor of thy hand thou shalt eat food, until thou turn again to dust, from which thou wert created. For dust thou art, and dust thou shalt return. For from the dust it is to be that thou art to arise, to render judgment and reckoning for all that has done in the day of the great judgment. So that's where they get that you're not going to rise until the great judgment at. Instead of what Jesus said, where you pass directly from unalivement to everlasting life. But I just thought that was interesting. In there in Revelation it says, I will give the power to my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. And these are the olive trees and the 2 lampstands standing before the Lord of the earth. If anyone desires to harm them, fire proceeds out of their mouth and devours their enemies. If anyone desires to harm them, he must be unalived in this way. And these have the power to shut heaven, and that it rain not in the days of their prophecy. And they have the power over water to turn them into blood, and to strike the earth with all the plagues as often as they will. The same day that Lot went out, they did the fire and brimstone from heaven that destroyed everybody too. And that was actually Yahweh when you look at Genesis 19:24. Interesting enough, we have verses, so that you may be sons of the Father who is in heaven, for he makes the sun rise on the evil and the good, and he sends the rain on the just and the unjust. But then we see Yahweh in Deuteronomy saying, the anger of the Lord will be kindled against you, and he will shut up the heavens so that there will be no rain. And the same thing is in Deuteronomy 28:24. And the Lord will make the rain of your land powder, and the heaven dust shall come up on you until you are all destroyed. And Jesus said, he said that the enemy comes only to unalive, destroy, and steal. 1 Kings 8:35-36. When the heaven is shut up and there is no rain, because they have sinned against you. So everywhere I know there's another one in Isaiah too that I didn't even put on there, but he's constantly threatening to cut off the rain for the people. And then Jesus tells his Father in heaven doesn't do that. Both the dragon and Yahweh burn up the grass. Revelation 8:7. And the first angel sounded the trumpet, and there followed hail and fire, mingled with blood, and it was cast on the earth, and a third part of the earth was burnt up, and a third part of the trees were burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up. And then we have Jesus in Luke 12:28 saying, but is how God clothes the grass of the field, which today exists and tomorrow is cast in the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O you of little faith? Don't seek after what you will eat or what you will drink, neither be anxious, for the nations of the world seek after all these things, but your Father knows what you need, that you need these things. But seek God's kingdom, and all these things will be added to you. Don't be afraid, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. So that's just almost total polar opposite. Then in Deuteronomy we have burning it with brimstone and with the heat of salt, so that it cannot be sown any more, nor any green thing grow therein, after the example of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah and Zeboim, which the Lord destroyed in his wrath and indignation. It's just wild. And then in Isaiah 46, we see this is happening again toward the end times. The voice of one saying, Cry. One said, What shall I cry? All flesh is like grass, and all glory is like the flower of the field. The grass withers, the flower fades, because Yahweh's breath blows on it, and surely the people are like grass. So he's even saying that we're the grass that's going to be killed. Both the dragon and Yahweh have a cup of wrath. Revelation 14:10. He also will drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is prepared unmixed in the cup of his anger. He will be tormented with fire and sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And then it says in Revelation 18:6, Return to her just as she returned, to repay her double, for she did, and according to her works. In the cup which she mix it to her double. Jeremiah 25:15. And thus says the Lord God of hosts, the God of Israel, the cup of wine of his fury, at my hand, and thou shalt make all the nations drink thereof, into which I shall send these. And they shall drink and be troubled, and be mad because of the sword which I am sending among them. And then I took the cup at Yahweh's hand, and made all the nations to drink from to whom Yahweh had sent me. Jerusalem, the cities of Judah, and its kings and its princes, to make them a desolation, an astonishment, a hissing, and a curse, as it is today. You shall tell them, Yahweh of armies, or Yahweh of hosts in a lot of Bibles, the God of Israel says, Drink and be drunk, vomit, fall, and rise no more, because of the sword which I am sending among you. It shall be, if they refuse to take the cup at the hand to drink, then they shall tell them, Yahweh of armies says, You shall surely drink. For behold, I begin to work evil at the city which is called by my name. And should you be utterly unpunished, you will not be unpunished, for I call for the sword and for the inhabitants of the earth, says Yahweh of hosts. I mean, that's just, to me, that all smacks of evil stuff. Both the dragon and Yahweh have deceived the whole world. And I believe this with all my heart, because I see it every day. I'm going in these lives and I'm listening to people arguing, but it's Yahweh's about, they go back and forth, back and forth. And I had one man even tell me, I asked him, I said, if your child was rebellious, he was following Hebrew roots. I said, if your child's rebellious, could you take them out to the wall of the fence and stone them for that? And he said, yes. And he was just real blunt, just matter of fact. I was like, I'm not believing this. But we're gonna go ahead and continue reading. It said, the great dragon was thrown down, the old serpent, who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He was thrown down to earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. Revelation 18:23. And the light of the candle shall shine no more in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For the merchants of the great men of the earth, for by the sorceries all the nations were deceived. And then in Matthew 24, and Jesus answered him and said, Take heed that no man deceive you, for many will come upon my name, saying, I am the Christ, and they shall deceive many. And that's not many Christ coming. He's actually warning that they're going to call him the Christ, and that's going to be the deception. Because when you do that, you make Jesus Yahweh's Son. And verse 24:24 actually reads in Greek, "For there shall arise false followers of the Christ, and false prophets, and they shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch of it as if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect." When we look at Yahweh, does he set out to deceive? This is Kings 22:22. "And the Lord said to him, Wherewith? And he said, I will go forth and be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, Thou shalt persuade him and prevail, so go forth and do so." So he's planning on sending out lying spirits in the mouth of the prophets. 1 Kings 22:23. "Now therefore, behold, the Lord hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these prophets, and the Lord hath spoken evil concerning thee." Then we see the same thing in 2 Chronicles 18:21 and 22. "And he said, I will go out and be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And the Lord said, Thou shalt entice him, and thou shalt prevail, go out and do even so. And then therefore, behold, the Lord hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of these prophets, and the Lord hath spoken evil against thee." And then in Ezekiel 20:25, this is Yahweh speaking, he said, "Moreover, I gave them statutes that were not good, and rules by which they could not have life. And I defile them through their very gifts in their offerings and up of their firstborn, and I might devastate them. I did it that they might know that I am Yahweh." He did all that. He said he gave them laws where they wouldn't have eternal life, and he also had them offering up their firstborn just so they would know his name. He says that over and over. They'll know my name. They'll know my name. It's wild. I'm just going to mention real quick that we have 3 major religions of the whole planet. So I think he deceived everybody. It's covered basically the whole world. They're all Abrahamic religions that worship Yahweh in one form or another. Judaism worships Yahweh. The Old Testament Christians and do the same, and then the Muslims are following Allah, which is basically Yahweh. It's his name flipped upside down. It's the same person. Both the dragon and the devil, Yahweh, have a furnace that they burn things up. Let's see, Matthew 13:37. He answered, "The one who sows the good seeds is the Son of Man, and the field is the world, and the good seed is the sons of the kingdom. The weeds are the sons of the evil one, and the enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are the angels. Just as the weeds are gathered and burned with the fire, so it will be at the end of the age. The Son of Man will send out his angels, and they will gather out of his kingdom all the causes of sin and lawbreakers, and throw them into the fiery furnace. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears, let them hear." And then when we look at Yahweh, he's basically saying the same things. Exodus 19:18, "And Mount Sinai was in smoke, all of it, and Yahweh descended upon it in the fire. And the smoke went up in the smoke of a furnace, and the mountain trembled exceedingly." Then Psalms 21:9, "You make them as a furnace of fire. In the time of your presence, Yahweh does swallow them up with his wrath, and the fire does consume them." Ezekiel 22:20, "And they shall gather their silver, bronze, iron, and lead into the midst of the furnace, to blow the fire on it to melt it. And I will gather in my displeasure and in my wrath, and I shall blow and melt you. I shall gather you and blow you with the fire of my wrath, and you shall be melted in the midst. As silver is melted in the midst of the furnace, you are melted in the midst, and you shall know that I Yahweh, have poured out my wrath on you." It's real lovely, isn't it? Both the dragon and Yahweh use signs in heaven. Revelation 12:1, "And a great sign was seen in heaven, a woman clad with the sun, the moon under her feet, and her head and crowned with 12 stars. And being pregnant, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. And then Revelation 12:3, and another sign was seen in heaven. And see, a great fiery dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on his head. And his tail draws down a third of the stars of the heavens and throws them onto the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, to devour her child as soon as it was born. Let's look at Yahweh. He tells us that's what he uses. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament and in the heaven, to give light upon the earth, and to divide between the day and the night. And let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days, and for years. And let them be for light in the firmament of the heaven, so as to shine. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he does say he uses them for signs and seasons. Both the dragon and Yahweh cause all that dwell to mourn. Matthew 24:30. Then will appear in heaven the sign of the Son of Man. That's a sign. All the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And note that that's the Son of Man. That's not Jesus Bar Abba. That is the Son of Man, I believe, is JC. Then when we look at Amos 9, it says, if they go into captivity before their enemy, there I will command the sword, and I shall unalive them, and I will set my eyes upon them for evil and not for good. And the Lord, the God of hosts, is he who touches the earth, and it shall melt, and all that dwell there shall mourn, and it shall rise up as a river, and shall run down as the river of Egypt. So both of them do the same thing, making everybody mourn. This is a big one. We'll do this one too. Because if they don't understand these comparisons, then they're not going to understand how I'm seeing this. Both the dragon, Yahweh, owns all that's in the world. Both of them do. The dragon, Luke 4:5, and the devil took him up on a high mountain, showed him all the reigns of the world in a moment of time. And the devil said to him, all the power will I give thee, and glory for them, for that is delivered unto me, and to whomever I will give it. So he's saying he owns everything. He'll give it to Jesus if he'll just bow down to him. And notice, if you read the whole thing, he refused. He didn't do it. Well, when we look at Yahweh, you can see that he owns everything. Elohim Yahweh shall speak, and he shall call the earth from the rising of the sun to the going down. From Zion, the perfection of the loveliness, Elohim shall shine forth. Our Elohim comes and is silent. A fire consumes before him, and he shall be a very stormy all about him. I do not reprove, for your slaughterings and ascending offerings are continually before me. I do not take a bull from your house, nor goats or pens, for every beast of the forest is mine, the cattle 1,000 hills. I know all the birds of the mountains, that all moving in the field is mine. If I were hungry, I would not speak to you, for the world is mine and all that fills it. And you are driven away from men, and your dwelling is to be with the beasts of the field. You are given grass to eat like oxen, and 7 seasons shall pass over you, until you know that the Most High is ruler in the reigns of men, and he gives to whomever he wishes. So he's saying everything in the world belongs to him. We don't need to give him anything, because he's got it all anyway, and he gives it to whoever he wishes. I think I'll stop